What's up, Team Icon? It's Coach Cruz coming at you live to talk about how to properly brace your core and the importance of having core strength and stability. So I want to start off this live stream by doing a quick test with y'all, something you could do wherever you are at any point in the day. So first and foremost, you're going to put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest, okay? Then you're going to take a deep breath in. Now, wherever that breath goes to first is essentially where your brace is going to be happening, okay? So if you notice for me, first place that my breath actually goes into is my belly or my diaphragm, and then inevitably it will go to my chest if I take a deep enough breath. But the key point here is that the air is actually going into my diaphragm or my belly, okay? Because if you think about where your quote-unquote brace happens, or actually, you know what? Let's start off here. What is a brace? Bracing your core is like when you're doing a plank, or if somebody goes to punch you in the stomach and you brace your core so that, upon impact, it doesn't rattle you. But now, when you're bracing your core, essentially what you're trying to do, especially when it's coming to pertaining to your lifts, you're trying to intake as much air as you can into your diaphragm, and then you're trying to brace hard against that air, right? Against your core while you have that air in your diaphragm. Now, that being said, if you're squatting, for instance, right? And let's say you go to take your breath at the top of the squat and it comes into your chest. Even if you do that intentionally, and you intentionally actually, like right now where you are, intentionally try to take a breath into your chest and then try to brace your core. You'll notice that your core is still somewhat kind of squishy, and loose and kind of like, I don't want to say weak, but weak, right? Whereas if you can actually take the breath into your diaphragm and brace against that air, now we have core stability and core strength at the top of our squat. And you can imagine if you're taking that breath into your chest, as you descend down into the squat and come up, because there isn't much strength and stability happening in your core, because your breath and your brace are happening more so in your chest, everything's going to come to your lower back, okay? Because one thing that a lot of people are unaware of is the fact that your core is actually not only just composed of your abdomen or your abs, right? It's also composed of your lower back. So whenever your abdomen is supposed to be firing off, your transverse abdominis, your psoas major, and your abs are supposed to be firing off. And if they're not working properly, all of that weight is going to come to your lower back. Now, to kind of segue into how I can actually paint a more vivid picture for you, the back injury that you guys all know that I sustained a couple weeks back, that was due to a few things, okay? Number one, my glutes, I had what I like to call sleepy glute syndrome, because after, the move, driving back and forth from Picton to Mississauga in trucks, in SUVs, in everything, and my hips being in flexion and me being seated for such a prolonged period of time, my glutes weren't firing off accordingly, right? Like they weren't activating properly, right? Now, simultaneously, because my hips were in flexion all day, I built up a lot of tension in my my TVA, or my transverse abdominis, my psoas major muscle. And essentially, I want you to think of your TVA as the flip side of your abs. So the reverse side of your abs. I built up a lot of tension in there, right? And because of that, I wasn't actually able to brace properly. Now, beyond that, I also jumped in weight. I increased in weight way too fast while I was deadlifting. I was feeling good. And to be honest, it was just a slip up, okay? That was a slip up. I shouldn't have jumped in weight in such a drastic manner. Like I shouldn't have went from 205 to 300, and that's on me, right? But I learned, and I know that I'll never do that again, especially in a cold garage. But all that to say that, that back injury was sustained with like the 300 pounds to me, like after 12 years of lifting, 300 pounds to me is actually like not a crazy amount of weight, right? Like my PR is actually 100 some odd pounds above 300 pounds. But because my core wasn't firing off properly, my glutes weren't activating properly, and I jumped excessively in weight, I sustained the lower back injury. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at, you know, and how I can kind of paint that picture for you as to why core strength and stability are very, very, very important. And, you know, also not only pertaining to lifting, if you're going to pick up your kid, or you're going to pick up your groceries, or even something as simple as going down to tie your laces. I know you guys have been there too, where, you know, you've just done an everyday task and ended up kind of tweaking your lower back, right? A lot of that is pertaining to your core stability and your core strength, okay? So one thing I do want to leave you off with is make sure, okay, during your lifts, regardless if it's a back day, a chest day, a shoulder day, or even a full body day, whatever body part you are training, you want to make sure you're practicing diaphragm breathing, okay? Just like that first test, the test that I originally took you guys through, make sure that in between each repetition, you're taking your breath into your belly. So for example, if I'm doing a cable row and I'm rowing here, right? I'm taking my breath on the eccentric. So I'm going, and I'm taking the breath, filling my diaphragm with air. I'm bracing, and I'm rowing back, right? Now, that test that I showed you is the best way that you can actually determine whether or not you are diaphragm breathing or not, right? So again, just to quickly reiterate what that test was: one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Take a deep breath, and wherever that breath comes first, just remember that that is where your brace is going to go. So I'm doing my best to keep these live streams as short and concise as possible, so that it's easier for you guys to actually absorb the information and the knowledge that I'm sharing with you on live streams. So I'm going to make them anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes long. And this one, 15, so I'm at about 7 minutes in right now. I flew through this. Yesterday it took me about 12 minutes, or like 13 minutes-ish. But I got kind of through my major points a little bit quicker today. Anyways, all that to say, I do appreciate you guys showing up live, whoever did show up live, and anybody who's watching this on the replay, God bless you. And you know, you could always drop any questions in the group chat or to me directly if you want a little bit more clarity on what I covered today. But for now, Coach Cruz is signing off. Peace, love, and protein. May the gains be with y'all.